Battalion of Heroes, presented by Emergo Canada Limited.
We've never had to worry about American soldiers crossing the border, bombing our homes, killing our loved ones, and stealing our food and belongings.
The people of Holland know what that kind of experience is like, and they also know what it's like to have the Calgary Highlanders march in to liberate them. Last week, Bill McFarland traveled to Holland with the regiment for the thank you of a lifetime. They were in the city of Middelburg, the capital of Walcheren Island in the province of Zeeland. Bill joins us now. There really is a special relationship between our country and the Dutch people, isn't there?
There really is, and I think it all goes back to when the Dutch royal family came here and lived in exile in Ottawa during the war. And then, of course, Holland was liberated by Canadian soldiers, and the Dutch people have never, ever forgotten it. Tonight, in our first of our four-part series, we take a look at Walcheren Island and the people who live there. This is the island of Walcheren in the southern Dutch province of Zeeland. It's a tranquil, agriculture-based area built on land reclaimed from the sea. Its villages and towns built on the sides of canals are picturesque. The main mode of transportation is still the bicycle. The island people are happy and contented. It's to Walcheren that veterans of the Calgary Highlanders return to celebrate their part in 50 years of Dutch liberation and freedom. The pipes and drums of the Highlanders band echo through ancient cobblestone streets as grateful Dutch people look on and remember. The skirl of the pipes is not foreign here. It's a familiar and welcome sound, a symbol of freedom.
We, the Dutch people, are very impressed that 50 years ago, so many young men gave their lives and all their efforts to liberate us from German occupation and end a period of agony.
Liberation from that agony is something the Dutch people will never forget. She's saying it's great the Canadians have come back. The years of occupation were hell. To fully understand that, you've got to go back about 54 years. The Germans bombed the island in 1940, reducing towns to rubble. The Dutch people were forced to help build impregnable Nazi fortresses to guard the mouth of the Scheldt estuary leading to Antwerp. In 1944, the Allies bombed the dikes, flooding the island and forcing the Germans onto vulnerable higher ground. The island under bombardment was hell on earth. Many died.
It was chaos and it was death and destruction. That's all I can say, and I wish that the youth for later in Canada as well as in Holland would continue to remember that.
It was into this cauldron of chaos Canadians got their introduction to Holland.
This land here, Zeeland, it was all water. The people live in the top of the houses or in the molens. And the Canadians were, the people are waiting for them, and they came.
50 years later, the Highlanders are back, but much has changed. The island has risen from the ashes and mud and stands now as a living symbol to the patience and ingenuity of the Dutch people.
Oh, a lot of changes, but it was real nice. I enjoyed it, and the Dutch people are wonderful.
During the war, Middelburg's 16th century buildings were destroyed. The people of Middelburg rebuilt their city in the old style, brick by brick, including the town's focal point, the magnificent medieval city hall.
Such a nice building was thrown down by the bombs.
And this was rebuilt brick by brick almost?
Yes, brick by brick. It took many, many years to build it like it is now.
Every Friday, newly married couples celebrate their wedding in the hall. It's a symbol of the city's liberation and its new beginnings made possible by the Calgary Highlanders.
I'm so glad and dankbaar, zeg het. And very grateful. Yes, yes, very grateful. Yes. I never forget. No. We can never forget. Yeah. Never. We all.
I never thought that we should be thanked,
you know, we did a job that we had to do. But they have never forgotten us.
Quick! March! And they haven't forgotten the skirl of the pipes echoing through the streets, just like they did 50 years ago. Bill McFarland, Channel 5 News, Middelburg in the Netherlands.
So nice to hear those nice things. What do you have for us tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we're going to visit the Queen Beatrix School in the very religious town of Arnhem-Ouden, where young school children say thank you to Canadian soldiers by taking care of the War Memorial.
All right. Thanks very much, Bill. See you tomorrow.
Battalion of Heroes, presented by Emergo Canada Limited.
Tomorrow, the city of Calgary will honor its peacekeepers, armed forces personnel stationed here, who've been involved in peacekeeping duties overseas in the past 2 years.
But last week, a Calgary regiment was honored for something it did 50 years ago. The Calgary Highlanders went to Holland for ceremonies marking the 50th anniversary of the Battle of the Scheldt. Channel 5 reporter Bill McFarland accompanied them and joins us now. So, Bill, where are you taking us today?
Well, we're going to what once was a fishing village. It's called Arnhem-Ouden. As you can see, it's on the island of Walcheren in the southern part of Holland called Zeeland. The area was liberated from Nazi occupation by the Calgary Highlanders, and even the young children are not allowed to forget that. We visited Queen Beatrix School to see how the children of Arnhem-Ouden keep the memory alive.
This is Arnhem-Ouden, a small village about 7 kilometers from the capital of Middelburg. 200 years ago, it used to be a fishing village on the sea. Children still fish here on the canals, but this is all that remains of the sea harbor. Arnhem-Ouden is inland now. The sea has been pushed back by industrious land reclamation projects. Arnhem-Ouden is a conservative village greatly influenced by the Dutch Reformed Church. The old ways are preserved against a backdrop of a fiercely patriotic people. That patriotism is passed on down to the children. They could be Canadian children busily trading soccer cards after school. But the children of Arnhem-Ouden are different. They're keenly aware of their history and of a war that happened long before any of them were born.
Well, they come from a country that was invaded and was destroyed 50 years ago, so for them it's very real. Their parents, their family know all about this. So to them it's a way of life, something that they pass on from generation to generation.
This is the Queen Beatrix School in Arnhem-Ouden. The curriculum includes detailed study of the war. Pupils know what happened, why it happened, and are trained from a very young age to make an earnest effort to prevent it from ever happening again. They do that by remembering the past.
In Holland, war memorials are tended by the school children. For them, it is an honor and a personal way to say thank you for the freedoms they enjoy today.
The children of Queen Beatrix School have adopted the Calgary Highlanders Walcheren Memorial. They come here, take away the weeds, and make sure the memorial is safe. She says we come here to look at the monument and remember what really happened here and talk about what happened at that time. He says he does it for the soldiers that fought here during those terrible times. 50 years ago, it was terrible. The country lay in ruins. Children were orphaned. Everyone was starving. Calgary Highlanders veteran Bob Johnson will always remember the hungry children.
And our sergeant major made it a rule that when we finished eating, if we had pieces of bread or jam or cookies or anything, we were to leave it on the table. Then he lined the children up and marched them through the mess hall so they could each take something from the table.
Now every year the children of Arnhem-Ouden carry wreaths and flowers to the Walcheren Monument to honor and remember fallen Calgary Highlanders. The military ceremony is moving and emotional.
That's because of an honor to what Canadian soldiers have done to our country. We appreciate it very much because they made it possible for our people to live free again.
By the center, quick, march!
The pipes and drums of the Calgary Highlanders delighted the children by visiting their school to say thank you for remembering the war dead.
Please accept this small token of our everlasting friendship.
It's an everlasting friendship between the grateful children of Holland and the regiment they honor. It's a bond that we in Canada might find surprising, but in Holland, the hands of friendship extending across the sea seem as natural and as continuous as the spinning wings of the windmills that dot this remarkable land. Bill McFarland, Channel 5 News, Arnhem-Ouden in the Netherlands.
Great report, Bill. What do we see tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we're actually going to go to the causeway where we're going to see where the battle took place, and we're going to meet Her Majesty Queen Beatrix in Flushing at what was an impressive memorial service.
All right, thanks very much, Bill. Look forward to that.
Battalion of Heroes, presented by Emergo Canada Limited.
The Calgary Highlanders have returned from an emotional tour of the Dutch province of Zeeland.
50 years ago, the Highlanders played an instrumental role in the liberation of the island of Walcheren. Reporter Bill McFarland accompanied the regiment to the Netherlands and joins us now. Now you've got another great report for us tonight. What have you got?
Well, thanks, Barb. Tonight we travel back to the Netherlands for a moving memorial service honoring the Highlanders that didn't return from battle. And the battle we're talking about is the Battle of the Scheldt Estuary, and you can see that's the blue area on the map. The Allies had to clear this area around the Scheldt to open the port of Antwerp. The last obstacle was the large island of Walcheren, held by the Nazis. The Highlanders had to cross a narrow causeway to capture that island and liberate the Dutch people. In tonight's episode of Battalion of Heroes, the Highlanders return to the causeway.
Early morning mist hangs over well-tilled Dutch farmland near the Walcheren Causeway. Sleepy Dutch farms slowly come to life as cattle graze on lush green grass. The causeway stretches into the misty distance, quiet and serene. Little of this idyllic landscape betrays the fact that 50 years ago this area was a gauntlet of death and destruction. Only crumbling Nazi bunkers stand like silent sentinels guarding a turbulent past. Against this backdrop of terrible beauty, the Calgary Highlanders march again to remember victory and celebrate peace. 50 years ago, the Highlanders crossed this causeway under very different circumstances.
I was 20 years of age at this time. I guess I was very frightened walking up the causeway because the German naval guns were firing at us, and the rounds would burst in the trees and come down into the slit trenches, and a lot of soldiers were wounded and killed there.
This area looks a lot different than it did 50 years ago. It's no longer surrounded by the sea, and to my right is a superhighway that links Walcheren Island to the mainland.
50 years ago, this was just a narrow 2-kilometer stretch of land with water on both sides. It was over this causeway the men of the Calgary Highlanders advanced toward Walcheren. Many died and are forever remembered at this memorial. Every year, the wreaths are placed, the bands play, the flags snap to attention in the breeze. But this year is different. The Calgary Highlander veterans are here to remember, to think about those dark days half a century ago and become temporarily lost in their memories.
I thought a lot of the boys that were here with me that never made it back. Yes, it's very emotional, yeah.
So it meant a lot to me, and I was remembering my friends. And, no, I thought it was very well done.
Look at us today here, what we're doing today. I think this is the highlight of my life.
For Dutch people living here during war and occupation, the highlight of their lives was liberation.
It is the celebration of the liberation of Walcheren. And we have much to thank to the Canadians who had fight here, a terrible fight on the Sloedam.
A grateful Dutch people say they'll never forget Canada's contribution in the liberation of their country.
Outside the great cathedral of St. Jacob in Vlissingen, the Dutch people wait to thank their liberators.
Nou, ik vind het heel fijn.
She says if it weren't for the Canadians, they wouldn't be free.
It's a great day today. That 50 years ago they have been here for to make us free.
The greatest honor the Dutch people can bestow is given with an appearance by Her Majesty Queen Beatrix. The Queen enjoys strong ties with Canada. The royal family took refuge here during the war. Inside the cathedral, the Queen sits with the veterans. The war dead are remembered, and as memories come flooding back, the men who never returned from battlefields appear again in the minds of the soldier pals who have come back to honor them. Bill McFarland, Channel 5 News, Vlissingen in the Netherlands.
Very, very moving, Bill, and that last piece of music was most appropriate. I recognize that as Highland Cathedral. What do you have for us tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow on Remembrance Day, we travel to the Canadian War Cemetery at Bergen-op-Zoom. It's a place that will leave a lasting impression.
All right, thanks, Bill. See you tomorrow.
Battalion of Heroes, presented by Emergo Canada Limited.
A number of Calgary Highlander veterans attended local Remembrance Day ceremonies today with special memories in their hearts.
They've just returned from Holland and another set of ceremonies paying respects to Canadian soldiers killed in the liberation of Holland. Bill McFarland joins us now from the Calgary Museum of the Regiments. Bill, tell us there's a special reason for your location this evening, isn't there?
That's right, Barb. In this place, the history of Calgary regiments is preserved for all to see, including the history of the Calgary Highlanders. But across the sea, there's another place, a very emotional place, where the history is also preserved. We're going to go to the cemetery at Bergen-op-Zoom, so now we go back to Holland.
This is the Canadian War Cemetery at Bergen-op-Zoom in the Netherlands. It's a quiet place, a place of serene destruction. Stones are arranged in regimental perfection, finely dressed at the open order. To this resting place, the Calgary Highlanders come to bid their buddies a final farewell. The pipes pierce autumn morning air, reverberating off tombstones. Veterans strain to hold emotions in check. Under their feet lay the memories, the friends, the comrades, gone but not forgotten.
May we stand in awe of their heroism, and may God so guide and strengthen us that we too may serve selflessly.
Leaves from Canadian maple trees fall gently to the ground as if to protect graves of young native sons lying here on foreign soil, soil that for them will be forever Canada.
It's really striking when you find the ones who are younger, because you know that these could be photos in a high school graduation album. Instead, they're headstones in a Dutch cemetery. And to show you what I mean, this soldier here was 17. This soldier here died at 19. And this soldier here died at 21. They all died on the same day, 23rd of October, 44.
They are frozen in time. They do not grow old. As these vets slowly walk between the stones looking for friends, they see them like they were 50 years ago. They talk about them as if they were still here.
These two gentlemen here are my buddies from the 9th Platoon, Calgary Highlanders. It's a pleasure to be here with them. The whole thing's very moving, I tell you. That's about as far as I can go without breaking it down.
I come from Saskatchewan, and quite a few men from the town I come from were in the South Saskatchewan Regiment, and I found one of their graves. It was quite moving.
To you, from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. For if ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
For these veterans, it is perhaps their last visit to this cemetery, a final goodbye. When the veterans are gone, who will carry on this tradition of remembrance? The torch is being passed to young Calgary Highlanders, beneficiaries of a proud regimental tradition.
It's up to all of us to carry on what they've done here, and all these people on the ground and whatnot. It's up to all of us just to carry it on. Young Highlanders walk among the graves of soldiers not much older than they are. The younger soldiers walk with the veterans of a war they didn't know, but share their emotion and their grief. The bond from one military generation to the next is complete. The torch is passed. Both generations of soldiers are lost in their personal thoughts. The young are impressed by today, while the vets, taken back 50 years, hear the voices of the dead in the breeze that whispers softly through the maple trees.
Highlanders! Open order! March! Right! Dress! Calgary Highlanders! General salute! Return! March!
We tend not to forget what Canadians did. There are more than 6,000 Canadian soldiers who are buried in the Netherlands at military cemeteries. Dutch school children lay flowers at these graves. This is an important thing which we feel is just perfectly normal to do, to show our gratitude, and this also shows that future generations will not forget what Canada did for us. It's an ongoing thing. Each new young generation is made fully aware of it.
Okay, your baggage claim receipts are just right here, and it'll be around the corner, gate B22, 635 or so.
About 60-some pounds, the other one's not as heavy.
Here are your luggage claims, and
You can switch.
And that's for any hand baggage you're carrying on board the aircraft with you today?
Yeah. Well, that's when you've got to pace yourself a little bit.
That's our little cookhouse we made up. You know, we built all that ourselves there out of the bush. And that's some officers, I don't remember. It seems to me one of those was a guy from Red Deer, Alberta. He was a blacksmith, and he was one of our commanding officers at the time.
Mrs. McTaggart. This is me. This is Walker.
Yeah. A long time ago.
Well, I told my mother I'd be back when it's 50 years.
Hey, Lou, how's it going? Hey, he's doing well. There you are, big guy. Yep, made it. Wonderful place.
There's some. Is that yours? Yeah. Box.
Who's your battle?
My brother was last year, not this year, but last year, also That's a long time.
Not since then, not since then, yes, exactly.
Junior Poitiers, régiment de Madeleine, Captain Benoît,
Where we had, I know the mounted police were the red uniforms, well they came to the west and they built this as a fort to police the area.
You're looking always, you look the winter of 44, 45, the battle of Walcheren, the inundation of Walcheren, and then learned about the battles that have been fought here in this area.
So we keep inscribed it as in everlasting friendship, because that's how we view the Dutch, and we know they certainly feel that way about Canada.
I was thinking it was in the first grade that my English teacher learned us lest we forget.
Yes.
And then she said why you should, when, in what kind of occasions you should use that expression. And that's come up in my mind when I read this in it.
De Calgary Highlanders dienen nog steeds de zaak van vrede en vrijheid, zelfs vandaag werkende met de Verenigde Naties over de hele wereld.
The battle at the Slowdown began on October 31st. It was a cold, dull day and rain threatened. In those days, the causeway was 1,200 meters long, 40 meters wide. It was so exposed to direct gunfire from Walcheren Island that the first Canadian attack was pushed back. Several other attacks were made with increased amounts of firepower. By the 2nd of November, 135 Canadians had been killed or wounded in the attempt to free Walcheren. And we must never forget those actions of 50 years ago. Well, they come from a country that was invaded and was destroyed 50 years ago, so for them it's very real. Their parents, their family know all about this. So to them it's a way of life, something that they pass on from generation to generation.
Every year it comes in our lessons history. In April, May, we have a series of lessons about the war.
We want to thank you personally for everything that you've done here. So we're going to give you these small hats from Calgary. Hope you enjoy them.
So we're grateful still, after so many years, and I can't even imagine what it was like in those days, but my parents told us a lot about it. They're your age, so that's how you know all about at least you try to understand how it was like that. So thank you very much.
Well, your country is doing a wonderful job, though.
Thank you.
Beautiful country.
Thank you. I hope you like your stay. I was just explaining my children, that's why I asked you to stop. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nice to talk to you.
Good luck.
Bye.
Yeah, maar goodbye.
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 They don't like Germans. They're good they're well hated. Everybody.
It's just up there where we're going now.
I don't know what kind. I think probably there would be a marking umbrella and something like that.
It was flooded by the Allies in early October 1944. Now before the British bombed this particular dike here, they dropped leaflets all over this island telling people in their own language to move away as far as they could. And what happened was is many of them did, unfortunately many of them did not know where to go and they stayed home. On the 3rd of October 1944, the Allies dropped the bombs on this dike in order to break it, to flood the island, to drive the Germans into small pockets of land. Now this dike here originally literally went from there, following the jetty here over those bumps that stick out of the water, all the way through to that radar tower. And at one time, that was the dike. They threw 1,270 tons of bombs on that dike in order to break it. It basically was mushed. The water kind of trickled through, but it wasn't satisfactory. So later on in October, near the end of October, they came back and dropped 270 tons of bombs, and that broke a real hole of 100 meters wide. And that really did the job. It began flooding the island. It looked like Niagara Falls twice a day with the tides going in and out. What happened was near the middle of the dike behind us, there was a mill, a windmill. And about 50 people had sought refuge there. But the mill was undermined by the bombing. And as the Allies landed, the mill collapsed, and 47 of the people inside the mill unfortunately died. That was the single greatest group of people that died. Now behind you, the entire town of West Capelle was flattened by this time, and of course has been painfully rebuilt as you see it now.
In Flanders field the poppies grow, between the crosses row on row that mark our place. And in the sky the lark still bravely singing flies, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow, loved and were loved. But now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. For if ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.